Update episode 22. My name is Jessica Barshis, and I am here as always with Austin Smith and joined virtually by Tyler Boyer. How are we doing?
Happy to be here.
A virtual dude just in a virtual world.
Well, we have a good show today for you guys. First up, we are going to be talking about Fani Willis and her alleged boyfriend. She's supposedly having an affair with a special prosecutor in the case in Georgia. And I think we have a clip about that we can go ahead and pull up.
So all eyes are on Georgia right now. And joining us now is Josh McCoon, Georgia GOP chair. He's doing a great job. Josh, welcome to the program. Josh, we know that the radical left is responsible for weaponizing our justice system. They're trying to turn Georgia into a blue state. Just kind of riff as the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party on some of these developments we've learned in the last couple of days.
Well, we already knew, Charlie, and thank you for having me on today, about many improprieties in this case. Nathan Wade trying to solicit some of the people he was prosecuting, sending out direct mail pieces saying, I'll be your defensive attorney, not getting the oath of office as a special prosecutor when he was supposed to under Georgia law. But obviously, this week's revelations have just been shocking, that the allegation being that he's in a romantic relationship with Fani Willis, that was occurring before she selected him, that she has transferred hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to him to prosecute this case, that he in turn has showered her with gifts, giving both of them a financial incentive to keep these cases going on no matter what. And as you referenced just moments ago, the revelations from his billing records that he's been spending time with the Biden White House, potentially coordinating all of these moves. So obviously we called yesterday for an immediate halt to all these proceedings, for an independent investigation into Willis and to Wade, both potential impropriety, perhaps even criminality here. The people deserve to know what's going on. And we've been saying from the beginning, this was a witch hunt that needed to end. I really think there can be no more debate at this point that it should be over. These cases should be dismissed.
She's about as corrupt as they come. A nasty woman, as President Trump said. Very corrupt.
Yeah, so essentially she's paid Wade close to $700,000 for both of them to go on lavish vacations together, right? That's the essence of all of this.
The corruption runs deep in Georgia. And actually, I was just texting before we got on here with the chairman, Josh McCoon. And so, again, we want to rehash and remind everybody what this is all about. So Fani is just going after, like, grandmas, right? Remember, they are indicting grandmas who are part of the normal election process. And again, we went through this a few weeks ago. Electors are the people who elect the president. So most people don't realize this, but your vote for president really actually doesn't matter. Most states do it as kind of like a cordial way of how to direct your electors, but ultimately guys like Austin, who are in the state legislature, get to decide how electors for your state are apportioned. Mm-hmm. And just most states fall under this, guise of, we'll do an election and whoever votes for the most electors, that's who we'll send. But really, the legislature can change that at any point, can do lots of different things. They can get as creative as they want to. And it's the electors who are the ones who elect the president. And so that's the argument that's being had in these states, in Georgia and Michigan and other places where Democrats are trying to go after these people. And, most of these people are just normal, ordinary people who are just activists and participating in the process. They were picked by the Republican Party in their state to represent. And I was talking with Josh McCoon, who, this is just like the silliest of silly battles that they're having to deal with. But Josh McCoon, a good dude, is having to raise all this money, to help defend these people, these grandmas and other people that are part of this process. And meanwhile, Fani Willis is paying, this is like stuff that should land you in prison, mm-hmm. is paying, her own lover, to go hang out with them. And this is bad stuff. I think this is the very tip of the spear, the very beginning of something. And I think a lot of people are going to start to go, holy crap, like this is not only political, but this is just like completely unethical, immoral. These are bad people that are in the midst of trying to throw these poor grandmas into a whirlwind.
I
And
think
Josh
most.
McCoon,
Go ahead, Tyler.
I was just going to end with this. Josh McCoon was telling me, who we just saw, who's the chairman, and he's a young guy. He's a pretty young dude and great dude. Let's say, like, it's like throwing a couple of these old people like into a hospital. They've had health issues because they're getting attacked by the system. Like, they're being charged criminally for this stuff. This is insane.
It's so sad because like I think at the heart of it all, Democrats that are like very far left, extreme, like Fani Willis and like Democrat leaders across the country, don't blink over this at all. Don't lose a wink of sleep, because at the heart, I think that they're so dead set on scaring people from being electors, like Tyler was talking about. I mean, it's not just Georgia. Chris Mays is doing it here in Arizona, going after the Cochise County Board of Supervisors, not as government officials that didn't certify the elections, but as like individual citizens of the state of Arizona. I don't trust the justice system anymore in this country, unfortunately. I don't think the DOJ steps in and says something or tries to correct course here because they're all in the pocket of Biden. But, there are swing voters in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we've been saying it for months that this is a witch hunt. This is all corrupt. This is actually just, trying to get Trump kicked off the ballot. It's trying to scare people from being involved in the political process. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is really trying to scare people from being electors, from, running for office in the opposite party, getting on the ballot as the opposite party. I mean, that's how this Marxism starts. It's like you're against the main party. You are an enemy of the state. We're going to do anything we can to keep you off it. We're not going to let you touch it. So we'll see. I hope, any good judge will just throw this out and be like, absolutely not. You guys have already ruined it, and that's it. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's terrifying, honestly.
Well, and this is just the beginning, I think, because I think we're going to see a lot here where we learn a lot more about Fani Willis, about what she does. A lot of people need to take note, because this isn't just going to be Fani Willis and colonoscopy of sorts of her life, but any other person that decides to involve themselves or tries to avoid involving themselves. And that's another question that's been there, is like, obviously all these people, these grandmas, they didn't come up with this idea on their own, and there's justification for it. We won't get into it here, and we'll talk about it on this show, but there is a responsibility here for Americans, particularly those that understand and know what the process is for electing a president, to say, back in 2016, there were literally electors who were trying to change their vote for people, when it came to who to vote for president. And that in many states is actually law. It's illegal to do that in some of these states. And nothing was ever done. Nobody was, charged criminally for that. And the world that we're living in now is everybody's becoming numb to,
like it's normal,
criminal,
right?
Yeah.
Well, it's even worse than that. Not that this is normal, all this insanity and chaos, but like now, we're going to have Republicans wanting to attack Democrats for every little thing that is really not even a big deal. It's a disagreement of politics in most cases. And, I don't think that's right either. I think we should just keep moving on and realize, like, in the same way that we just ignored their, antics and shenanigans that didn't work, there's going to be litigation, things like that they disagree with, and, we move on and we have the next election. But this is impacting people now, where it's like, why would you want to participate in the process if you're going to potentially be charged criminally for just doing what, other people have done for years and years and years throughout this entire process that's outlined in the Constitution? It scares people. That's when you become Russia.
I think part of it is the Democrats, Marxists in general, they only understand authority and power. Mm-hmm. And so does that mean, like, getting into office, like, we need to do the same exact thing for them to make an example out of them? No, I don't think that's the right way to do things, because then we just become what we say we're against. But at the end of the day, that's the only thing they understand is, like, so I mean, somebody has to be punished for stuff like this. Like, this can't be just, thrown under the wayside. I'm not saying throw every Democrat in jail that, spoke ill against Donald Trump or the Republican Party. Is like, but the people that are like manipulating our republic to throw people in jail, to scare people, there has to be some sort of accountability, because when you get people like the Fani Willises and the Chris Mayses and the attorney generals in these other states and secretaries of states that are just willingly going to break the law and throw people in jail because they're in the opposition party. I mean, the Republican Party sometimes isn't even really an opposition party, but they're just like a speed bump to what some of these globalist Marxists that have taken over all of our justice systems, like the county attorney's offices, attorney general's offices, district attorney's offices. There has to be some kind of accountability. Are we going to get that from the DOJ? I don't know. I don't think we're going to. I think it's going to be a long time until we can get something like that. But that's where we come in. Grassroots activists, electing people to change that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I have seen a lot of people having opinions that we need to be taking pages from the Democrats' playbook, especially as we go into 2024. But, I agree with you. I think it's important that we keep our morals and, we stand for what we believe in still. Not let that get away from us.
And some of you might be asking or wondering why I'm wearing this big obnoxious hat. It's funny because it's big and large, right? You guys ever watch the SNL clip where
SNL?
What was his name? What was his name, Tyler? He was Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds wears the really obnoxious.
It's Burt Reynolds on the
Celebrity
Saturday
Jeopardy.
Night Live Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, with Will Ferrell.
I almost feel like we should try to pull the.
Can we find that? Yeah, they're pulling it up here in a minute.
Come on, that is way out of line. Mr. Reynolds, what are you doing?
Yeah, I found this backstage. Oversized hat. It's funny.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. It's funny. It's funny because it's bigger than a normal hat.
I see that. Get back to your podium.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, I see it. Go back to your podium. It's not funny.
But wearing the precinct sheriff hat, foam hat, Turning Point Action, is because here in Arizona we've got the Maricopa County Republican Committee meeting this Saturday, the annual meeting that happens every year in January, where all the precinct committeemen from across Maricopa County get there to vote for new members at large and bylaws and all that fun stuff. So we'll be there on Saturday. Turning Point Action will be there, getting people signed up to chase ballots. I'll be there because I'm a precinct committeeman. Tyler's a precinct committeeman. I'm sure he'll be there. A bunch of our staff will be there, people that we know, to go and vote on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm wearing it in honor of MCRC Precinct Sheriff. Babe, we got to get you one of these.
I failed my my assignment from last week.
You still haven't signed up yet?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
But it's going to happen.
I'm
sorry about that. It's been a crazy week.
Can somebody go to the office and get a Maricopa County precinct application? I'm going to make Jessica fill it out right here. And then I'll make sure
let's do it.
Then it's sent over to the county, to Craig Berlin. So
you guys will see it live here. Yeah, I remember that.
Let's jump into, why don't we just pull up clip 2 of Vivek.
Come on, that is way out of line. Mr. Reynolds, what are you doing?
Yeah, I found this backstage. Oversized hat. It's funny.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. It's funny. It's funny because it's bigger than a normal hat.
I see that. Get back to your podium.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, I see it. Go back to your podium. It's not funny.
What I saw in many of the rooms I was in was a sense of struggle with that question of loyalty. And I think our loyalty, my loyalty, and I know Donald Trump's loyalty and the loyalty of the people participating in this caucus process is to this country. So the question is what's right for the country. Let's just agree with that. Whoever you're going to vote for, that's what matters here. Not loyalty to me, not loyalty to Trump. It's loyalty to the United States of America. I think if you want to, I'm going to be blunt about this. I think if you want to save Trump and save this country, a vote for me is actually the way to go.
He straight up just asked for it. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I love Vivek. I secretly hope he is who Donald Trump is thinking about for VP. As we know, he said that he has someone in mind there. But I do respect that. He submitted an amicus brief to the Supreme Court arguing to overturn the Colorado decision to take him off the ballot. But, Vice President 2024. That's where I stand.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of my take is Vivek has been right for so long at this point. There's a lot of concerns early on when he first got in the race, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, farmer bro," and is he going to go? And he did all of the things that we all thought that Ron DeSantis should do, which is, campaign to the right, not to the middle. Don't
court Trump voters.
Yes.
Court Trump voters. Try to and what he's doing here is exactly what everybody should be doing, right? Trump has been the nominee now twice. This will be his third time because I think it's going to be really hard for him not to win. He's been the de facto leader of the Republican Party because, I mean, look around, guys. Who are the leaders in the Republican Party? Mitch McConnell? No one likes him. McCarthy? No one liked him. Ron McDaniel? No one likes him. So who's the de facto leader in the Republican Party? It's Donald Trump. And regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, you have to have a respect for that. You have to understand that there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people support him. And so if you're campaigning to run for president and you're running against the guy, you should be trying to win over some of his support. And it's like every other person in this race the entire time has run away from trying to gain support from Trump supporters. And I think it's really indicative. This clip is so big. It's bigger than what I think most people even think. When you listen to this young man's voice and he comes up and he's like, Vivek, I love Trump, but I love you too. And how do I vote for you and get excited about voting for you without basically looking like, I don't support a lot of the things that Trump does and he's saying and what he's doing. And Vivek's response is so critical because it's not even what he says. Because I don't even really care about what he said, which, it's the right thing. It's really basic. It's very, it could have been, crafted in a workshop. But it's his tone, which is something you can't make up. His tone is I can tell Vivek really cares about doing the right thing for the country. He really wants people to vote for the right person who's going to make the right amount of change. And the patience that he exudes in that tells me that he's going to be around for a long time, and that he really is deserving of a vice presidential nod if it comes down to that, or at least something else that's really important.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't even have to just be vice president. I mean, if he stays involved and stays, alert, listening to the grassroots, coming to Turning Point Action events, stays in the fight for this country, because you do get a lot of these guys, like some of these older dogs that ran for president in the past, and they obviously got their clock cleaned by Trump, but then they just leave. They just kind of I'm taking my ball and going home, and that's the establishment way. But somebody like Vivek, you can really tell that he's campaigning hard in Iowa. I was actually on Sunday this last week. I had an early flight back from Iowa to Arizona, and on my way to the airport, I saw Vivek's bus, and they were staying at a very modest hotel room. The bus was outside of a very modest hotel room. It was like a Days Inn, Holiday Inn, or something like that. He's could have been at a really expensive place in downtown Des Moines, Iowa, but he stayed at a very nice place, and I think that also says a lot about people. Those that, fly commercial, you're running for office, that fly commercial to places, that don't spend a bunch of donor money on lavish events or flying private. They really, you have to walk the walk. And I think Vivek is doing that. And there's no more evidence than that from some of his answers talking about, I'm not running against Donald Trump, I'm just running to be president. And you look, somebody like Candace Owens is going to be campaigning for Vivek. And I like Candace, and she's come out and she tweeted she loves the Trump. She has a good relationship with Donald Trump Jr. And I think there's a lot of people on the MAGA right, that are conservatives, people that are just really upset about the political persecution in the country, and are very upset with the just the overall managed decline of the country. And I did an event last night or 2 days ago with Charlie in my district, and Charlie was talking about it doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. And we want to make sure that we have a country where people feel proud and excited for who they get to vote for. And I truly think that Vivek is upset by the way that they're treating Donald Trump. And I think if he was president, I think he still would be an exceptional president. I've come around to liking him.
But let's be real. It's hard for, I think, a lot of people when they look at VP, they don't really want a VP that is going to take the limelight away from the presidential candidate, right? They just want someone you trust and that's like, wow, that person has good ideas, and that's going to be great. And I think that's how people felt about Mike Pence when he started, and obviously they don't feel that way about him now. I feel like Vivek has really earned a lot of that this campaign.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people when you look around that have that. And then there's a second element to this, which we were talking about in the chat today, is you got to have somebody that's running as your VP where people are like kind of scared of that person, that they're going to be like more radical and more conservative than even the president. Because otherwise, I hate to say it, like there's a lot of reason to want to take the president out, and I don't mean that, necessarily physically, but like they try to impeach Trump, they'll try to impeach Trump 18 times or 20 times if they get control of Congress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of want somebody there that's going to freak him out. Mm-hmm. And Vivek, I think, freaks people out. I mean, he's like,
for sure,
he's hardcore. He's like, yeah, let's shut down everything. And so like, he's a great person. Like, he's smart because he's like, if I'm the person that runs that way, I'm going to be a great vice presidential pick for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who else is an opportunity for that? Well, like, I don't know, Rand Paul, like everybody's talking. Rand Paul's said he's got a big announcement today. Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, go visit Rand Paul's Twitter feed and see what his big announcement is. But, could Rand Paul be a good VP candidate, right?
I think, Tyler, what you're saying, I completely agree with you. We have so much of a better, more what the left would consider a radical bench, what we know to be, a true conservative America First bench, because you have the Rand Pauls, you've got the Josh Hawleys, you've got, the Boeberts, the Gateses, the Eli Cranes, this new generation that's rising up through the Republican Party. JD Vance that are so serious about that, actually understand that like we cannot mess around anymore. We can't like let the Mitch McConnells just slowly let our country decline, holding their hand at the same time with the Democrats. And I'm looking forward to Rand Paul's announcement. I think he's going to endorse Trump. That's my opinion. But
yeah, that reminds me of the Jill Biden clip where she's, saying when the interviewer asks her why people call her the Biden, or her family, the Biden crime family. And she says, well, I think that the right, and then she kind of like corrects herself and she's like extremists. And it's like, no, it's everyone who is true conservative, true right. Those people aren't considered extremists anymore. One more thing I want to ask about Vivek before we get off the topic, because this has been a burning question of mine. Do you guys think that he purposely forgot to turn his mic off during that Twitter Spaces when everyone heard him peeing? Because honestly, it was a genius.
Alpha.
It was a genius move on his team's part if they suggested that, because it just made him so much more relatable. And then, all those articles came out that were like, oh, he's such a funny guy. Look at him. He forgot to turn his mic off, and he got some publicity about
it's
that.
It's a power move.
Well, at least we know he pees standing up, right?
Exactly.
It's true.
We also that's what we care about. We only want dudes who pee standing up. That's it. That's the only person.
How we did it in the old days.
On the nuclear button.
Yeah. He's got some good flow.
So we're still talking about VP. Can we?
He drinks a lot of water.
That's good. You're running for president.
He's vegan. He drinks a lot of water. He gets a lot of water in his system from vegetables.
Can we play clip 3 here? President Trump talking about his potential VP.
Who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that really. I mean, I know who it's going to be.
Give us a hint.
We'll do another show sometime.
Well, what about any of the people who you've run against? Would you be open to mending fences with any of them?
I will. I've already started to like Christie better.
Christie for vice president?
I don't see it. That would be an upset. Christie for vice president. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce.
I do want to get to this other question before.
I love the crowd. Funny. The crowd is like all like laughing so hard. I tweeted out, and I like my Twitter's like unblocked. Like now I don't get any likes anymore because it doesn't show to anybody anymore because they've already started like suppressing me. But I was like, he's from Mendham, New Jersey, and I was like, somebody needs to warn the Dunkin' Donuts in Mendham, New Jersey that Chris Christie's coming back. Like, they need to stock. They need to stock up.
Stock up. He's on his way back.
He's on his way back.
Yeah, I mean, I think. If I had a short list, I think it's gonna be Kristi Noem, maybe a Ron DeSantis, and that's my 2 on my short list right now. Potentially Vivek. Potentially that would be my 3 short list. So we don't know until like after they've officially secured the nomination than they normally pick. Trump didn't pick Pence until in 2016, until about like a month or a couple weeks before the RNC in 2016. That's traditionally how it's done, but we'll see. This primary may be over before it started. I mean, it was over before it started, but it could be over here next week.
Yeah, the beautiful hot mic incident. I'm still laughing about that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should just have all the VP candidates, like whatever the short list is. And we should do this with the Supreme Court in the future, honestly, too. Is just have them all join a Twitter space, and I'll have them just like take turns,
Yes.
showing how long their flow is. Whoever has the longest P becomes the VP.
There's one more. There's
it
more.
Would pique the media's interest because they ate that up.
I can see the New York Times article now.
P competition.
There was a obviously
Vivek P VP. Wow.
Are we done with this? Are we done with this now? But yeah, the last thing to wrap up around this. So obviously Trump did that town hall last night on Fox. Well, then Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, they had their debate on CNN. Well, Trump on that Fox News crushed the Haley and DeSantis debate by a whopping 68% in the ratings. That's nuts. I mean, like, come on, guys. Like, read the room a little bit. Like, I understand that there's some consultants on those campaigns that still need to get paid through Iowa, but
this is what's crazy.
I just can't believe it. Almost 70%.
The DeSantis people and the Haley people are like, there's no way that Trump's up 50 points in the polls. Guys, every indicator is showing that he's up by 50 or more points in the polls because like ratings wise, if he's not up 50% in the polls, then why is he up 50% in the ratings and more, right? Like, it's just so obvious. And everywhere you go, you talk to anybody, you're around, and it's so funny. I don't know. I don't think we caught this as part of the story here, but DeSantis did his Fox town hall, and then Trump did his the next day, and they had a lady get up during the DeSantis one who goes, "Oh, I'm a Trump supporter, but I don't know. I have a lot to think about now. I think I'm really going to change my vote." And then Trump did his the next day, and the same lady showed up, and they put her back on camera, and she said, "You know what? Then I went home, and I'm definitely a Trump supporter."
Sounds about right.
Who is this lady? She's like the new Ken Bone of this election, it sounds like.
Ken Bone. Maybe we'll have another Ken Bone situation. That was awesome.
I miss him.
I think I got a picture. I think I got a picture with like Amy with Ken Bone.
That's awesome.
Way back in the day.
I love that.
See if I can find it in my Google.
Well, let's talk Wisconsin. I mean, let's talk some swing state here again. Robin Vos, the Speaker of the House in the Wisconsin legislature, is being targeted for a recall. What did I say weeks ago, months ago? I said if this guy keeps flirting with ranked choice voting and all of this other crap over election integrity in the state of Wisconsin, the people are not going to take it. And now he's already getting threatened with a recall. This guy is going to be Rusty Bowers 2.0. Calling it right now. And I think he's going to be emboldened to do this stuff because I don't think they have like a large conservative caucus in the Wisconsin legislature. I think that's why he gets most of his votes there. But because Vos is essentially the most powerful Republican in the state of Wisconsin, obviously he's not the governor. They don't have the governorship there. Ron Johnson's U.S. Senator. I get that. But he's arguably the most powerful Republican in the state because he controls all the legislation regarding elections and how things are run in Wisconsin. Now he's facing, potential recall for not supporting Donald Trump. And this just adds on top of it. It would have been so much easier for him probably if he would have because there are other people who are politicians that are not outwardly out supporting Trump right now. But when you do stupid shit like bring ranked choice voting and other things and flirt with other bad election stuff when you're Speaker of the House, and then on top of it, you're like, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump, have some freaking political, intuition a little bit, dude, that when you do this stuff, people are not going to want to support you. And now he's ready to get recalled.
Yeah, I mean, Robin Vos is, if you talk to any conservative in the state of Wisconsin, the frustration level with Robin Vos and everybody in Wisconsin is so nice. People in Wisconsin are like, you hear about the Midwest nice stuff, and like nobody ever comes out and you don't see big like Twitter attacks on people from Wisconsin and animosity. That stuff just doesn't happen. But I will tell you, you talk to any conservative that's there, and they are so over Robin Vos. These guys are going the complete wrong direction with ranked choice voting, with bending the knee to Democrats, to not doing the right thing with Wolf, getting a hold of election integrity. And these guys have a supermajority.
Yeah,
they can override they're the governor, so he's effectively the de facto multi-tenant governor now, and they're doing nothing with it. And that's unacceptable, especially where we're at today in Wisconsin. Everybody was clapping and cheering and so excited to have such grand control of the legislature now for the first time ever. And you got a terrible governor, and all they have to do is basically the right thing and be smart and be as right-wing as possible to help deliver the state for 2024. And this guy's not the guy. He's not the guy, and you got to get rid of him. The problem with Wisconsin is that there's 10 more Robin Vosses in the state legislature. So in their state, they have a big rhino problem, and that's going to change over time. Like we've seen it change in Arizona and some other places, but we don't have time to kill. So all we can do is hope and pray and keep the pressure on these guys. And this is really what it comes down to, is if you're in Wisconsin or outside of Wisconsin, you got to get involved. You got to say stuff. You got to show up to these meetings. If you're in Robin Vos territory, which I believe, I can't remember what Brett said. I think he lives in Kenosha. It's either Racine or Kenosha. I think it's the Kenosha area is where he's at. You got to show up and got to put immense pressure on this dude, so he knows that it is not acceptable how slow they're walking this thing.
You're right.
Totally insane.
And he had a statement. It came out, and he was he's obviously saying people are only doing this because. Actually, take that back. He won his primary by like a near 200 something votes this last time around. That's not a lot. And so when you screw up with things like this, it's going to flip. He's likely to lose this recall. Now, the establishment's going to bring a lot of money in him to try to save his skin a little bit. But I think what needs to happen is that whoever is going to, recall him, whoever they do, Trump needs to endorse the guy that's up against Robin Vos, and then also support somebody to be the Speaker of the House in Wisconsin if they do oust Vos. The other thing I wanted to mention here was that the Vos said, the effort today is no surprise since the people involved cannot seem to get over any election in which their preferred candidate doesn't win. This recall is a waste of time, resources, and effort. That just completely shows me that he doesn't know what time it is. He doesn't understand what's going on here. They're not doing it because the preferred candidate didn't win. We're trying to recall you because you're not doing your job. You're not actually being an effective Speaker of the House with the supermajority to enact election integrity, to ban ranked choice voting, to actually get rid of Megan Wolf. This is very simple stuff that Republicans should be doing in order to win. And you got poor activists like Brett and Brandon, those guys out there who work really hard in their local Republican parties to deliver victories for Republicans to make sure that we secure the state. Then you got idiots like Vos at the very top just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Kills me.
Yeah, and this is the really important part is, people get exhausted. This is the quandary that most Republican parties find themselves in, which is you can either sit by and have to make excuses for these people, or you can just be done and say, we've got to figure out creative ways to replace you. It's really one of the two ways, right? And so for years and years and years and years, the Republican Party's just been this like excuse factory, and it's become like a cultural excuse factory, right? And you see a lot of this come through on the news and in things. It's like, I mean, this is really like this is the epicenter of the problem with Ronna McDaniel, is she's basically the excuse factor for why the party sucks all the time. So she has no problem losing because she's already like, her culture is basically always coming up with all the excuses of why we lose. Well, there is no excuse to why we lose. There is no excuse why we should be losing, except that nobody has put their heads together to figure out the reasons why we're losing, why we're not building infrastructure, why guys like Robin Vos are too scared to move and do anything with a supermajority in a state. And again, for those listening, a supermajority means you don't need the governor, so you can pass legislation and laws with as long as the whole party votes for it, without it being signed into law by the governor. So, I mean, you've got a crazy situation right now where these guys can do things almost unilaterally, and we're not at a time in American history where it's just like, oh, well, you know, we got to Tip O'Neill this thing and just get along and be nice. And, you know, if we be nice, they're going to, guys, you be nice, jump into, I want you to go to the zoo, and I want you to jump in the lion's pen with absolutely nothing, try to be nice to the lion and see what happens to you.
Exactly. They'll just devour you with a smile on their face.
He's going to eat you up. And that is exactly what's happening to us, is like we're going around jumping into the lion pens with, or the, you know, I hate giving the lion because lion's such a beautiful animal. You know, if they're a lion, they're like, you know, what's his face from Lion King?
Simba?
What? No, the bat.
Scar.
Scar.
Scar. They're like Scar, because they're just so bad, and they're gonna eat you up. They're gonna tear you apart. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg was one of those hyenas. That should tell you everything.
That tells you, yeah. That explains a lot.
Perfect. Fitting.
That explains a lot.
We knew. We should have known.
But no, and to your point too, Tyler, before we kind of start to get and wrap up here, you're talking about like the excuses there. And this is where the grassroots, you've got to be activated, like what Tyler was talking about. If you're in Wisconsin right now, it doesn't matter if you don't live in Voss's district. If you're a resident of Wisconsin, you're a registered Republican in Wisconsin, you guys need to blow up that guy's phone at the state capitol. You know, you need to call him, be respectful, be like, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You're not serious about election integrity in the state of Wisconsin. You're a Republican. Or if you are a Republican in his district, you need to go to the next event that he's at. Be respectful, don't be mean, but you need to say, we're going to replace you if you can't get the job done. That's what we did here in Arizona. I'll tell you the story back after 2020 when Rusty Bowers was Speaker of the House here in Arizona. Tyler is a resident of the East Valley where Rusty Bowers is from, his legislative district. And Tyler and other people went to Rusty Bowers and said, there were issues in 2020. You're the Speaker of the House. We have a Republican governor. We have a Republican state Senate. You need to fix them. Rusty Bowers did not do that. He did not do his job and said, okay, Rusty, we're going to replace you. And Rusty kind of laughed, right, Tyler? And Rusty Bowers is now like a lobbyist, I think.
He didn't believe me, and he ran, and he got pummeled 65-35 in his election. He almost lost 2-1 in Mesa, and he'd been there forever. He lived there forever. He was beloved. In fact, by the conservatives at one point, you know, Russell Pierce went to bat for Rusty when he wanted to get back to the legislature, and endorsed him and supported him. And Rusty changed, you know, because he got too cozy with lobbyists and everything else. And that he's the story. He's the perfect story, because a lot of conservatives go, man, we just never win. And, you know, these guys always cheat and they find a way to win. They got so much money. And it's like, guys, no, you can strategically beat these people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Trump has shown us the way. Trump has been a wonderful addition to the conservative movement, because he has shown people that you don't have to have all the money in the world, all the team in the world. You just have to have the right message and make sure you deliver the right message to the right people. And we did that effectively with Rusty.
Right.
And, you know, there wasn't vote switching and flipping. You know, he lost not by a little bit, he lost by a lot of bit. And, you know, for us, you know, here in this state, we have to remember those situations to keep us motivated to say, yeah, we can get rid of a lot of people, including guys like Rusty.
Yeah, this is going to be another case study. I think Rusty was the first one. Robin Vos is the next one. There's probably going to be another one in Georgia or Nevada or I don't know, or other places where there's Republicans in control of Texas. That's another great example. Dade Phelan there, where these Republicans have large majorities or opportunities to do things, and they just don't. And Donald Trump showed us that you don't have to take this kind of stuff. You can just yank them out. Mm-hmm. And that's what we believe at Turning Point Action. That's why we're grassroots, a bottom-up type organization where it's like, these are the people that you're held accountable to, not lobbyists, not special interests, not people in the media, not other people that you serve with. You are accountable to these people who make up the nuts and bolts, the heart and soul of the Republican Party and the grassroots. And if you don't follow through with the Republican Party platform, you got to go. Mm-hmm. You got to go. If you don't follow through with the platform, you're done. You're out.
Yeah. I have Robin Vos's phone number pulled up if we want to go ahead and...
His state capitol phone number?
Yes.
Yeah, say it out.
If we want to read that out, if you're in the car listening and your final call to action from this episode, you want to contact Robin Vos. His number is 608-237-9163. There we go. Right there. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't like to. I mean, but the guy has such a bad guy name. I want Robin to prove everybody wrong that his name isn't a bad guy name. He's a good guy, and he's going to turn it around. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he's going to. But if everybody can jump in, do our part, support the conservatives we got in Wisconsin, and start blasting Robin and telling him that if he doesn't get his act together, we're all going to show up in his district and make sure that he gets yanked.
That's
hopefully
right.
Hopefully that brings him to some more conservative credentials here.
I'm sending Brett Galacheski to your house right now, Robin. Get it done.
You don't want Brett.
You don't want Brett showing up at your house. Leadership of the Milwaukee County Republican Party.
Well, guys, this has been a fun episode. We a lot's going on. We're just gearing up in 2024. Austin has taken on the supreme role of being one of the most important activists in the country. He is leading what's going to be, I think, the largest ballot chasing initiative, which is a number of different things. I want to talk about this just for a second. A lot of people hear ballot chasing and they think ballot harvesting. No. Ballot chasing is building relationships and identifying voters early so that we can turn out their vote later. And we're not trying to convince people to change how they vote. We're trying to convince people who have never voted to vote. And that is really what's most important. That doesn't just mean that we're trying to get them to vote. We're trying to ID them, know their families, know their situations, build relationships in the community that are very specific. In addition to that, we're also wanting to make sure that we clean up the voter rolls. And so part of the technology and the team that Austin's putting together is identifying ways to look at voter discrepancies. So there's lots of things that are going to be out in the field, like people register multiple addresses between different states.
Mm-hmm.
You get kids that come into town and they go to school and they're registered at home and they're registered in their new state, and no one ever addresses that. And sometimes, in fact, they vote in two places. You have situations where you have old people that are taken advantage of, minorities that are taken advantage, new voters who have never voted before taken advantage of by Democrats, leftists. Sometimes they fill out their ballot for them. Sometimes they talk to these people and tell them how to vote, and they peer pressure them at the door. We're trying to educate as many people to make sure that that doesn't happen in the communities that we need it to, and make sure we get as many of our votes in so we can help save this country. So if you get the chance, we'd love you to learn more about our Chase the Vote program at tpaction.com/chase. You can also go to tpaction.com/careers. We already have some of those jobs posted right now in Arizona, Wisconsin. We're going to have hundreds more posted very, very soon. I say very soon, I mean in the coming days, where we're going to be hiring, I think, close to 200 people in the coming days in Arizona, Wisconsin. And that's just the beginning. We have a full expectation that we're going to have a significant amount of full-time staff that are here at Turning Point Action, helping us with the ballot identification, ballot chase, relationship building that's out in the field, and we need your help. So if you want to move to Arizona and partake in our beautiful warm weather starting the summertime and beautiful wintertime as it goes to the election next year, or fall time, I should say. Or if you want to go to Wisconsin, where we just have opened up a brand new office in wonderful Waukesha, which is about 30 minutes outside of Milwaukee. We would love to have you, and there's no more important element to this election than thinking ahead, being part of our team. If you're volunteering, planning to take time off in October of next year so you can come help us in Arizona, Wisconsin. We will love and appreciate and embrace your support.
TPAction.com/careers. Go see if any of that interests you. The other thing I want to talk about, precinct committeeman. I've got Jessica here now, and because we are going into the Maricopa County meeting this Saturday, you unfortunately won't get to go to the meeting, but we need you to sign up to be a precinct committeeman, Jessica. Will you do it today?
I'm doing it. I
awesome.
promised I would.
I signed up my PC for today. I signed up a precinct committeeman. Maricopa County, we have our meeting this weekend, but the most important thing is that everybody else outside of Maricopa County and other parts of the country where you guys are listening, tpaction.com/precinct, any state where you're at, whatever the nomenclature is, if it's committeeman, if it's delegate, if it's chair, if it's leader, if it's president, central committee member, whatever the name is, the statutory name that your elected precinct committeeman person is, our team here at Turning Point Action is dedicated every single day to helping getting you plugged into your local Republican Party, making sure that you're aware of, what's going on. Like, if you're somebody that would be upset about a Robin Vos situation, the most powerful thing that you could do is be a precinct committeeman to hold somebody like that accountable. Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Nevada, any of these states across the country, our team will help you get plugged in exactly where you need to be with the Republican Party where you're from. That's a big deal. And we sign up precinct committeemen all year long. We're gonna actually start to have more conversations about precinct committeemen and delegates for your state conventions, going into electing your new national committee man or national committee woman, going to the Republican National Convention. A lot of people get their start as a precinct committeeman. I was with some precinct committeemen last night, and they give 40 hours a week sometime to their position, or you find precinct committeemen that maybe only give 1 hour a month. It just depends on what you're willing to put into it. But I encourage everybody, if you're upset with the direction, the way our country's going, upset over the direction of the Republican Party, you've got to be a precinct committeeman. Go to tpaction.com/precinct. Get signed up there. Somebody from our team will be happy to assist you.
Perfect.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. Jess, thanks for joining us once again. We have upcoming here, and I just want to kind of put everyone's radar. On Monday, as a reminder, we want you to like, subscribe, and follow us. Turn on notifications. We go live every Monday and Friday is when everything goes up, but we're live specifically at the beginning of your week in the afternoons at 5 p.m. in the afternoons on Monday on Twitter. We should be on Instagram very soon. If we weren't last week, we will be hopefully this next week. On YouTube, on Rumble, on our Rumble channel. But turn on notifications. If you're not on Twitter or X, get on X. Follow us. We're going to be starting to do some Twitter Spaces as follow-ups to some of these episodes. We're also going to be starting to launch training episodes. So some of the topics that you need to know and need to know how to do things, we're going to be incorporating a lot of our friends at different organizations and posting some of our live events where we're doing some trainings straight to the podcast. So wherever you get your podcast, if it's on Apple Podcasts, go on, make sure it's set for reminders and automatic downloads, and give us a listen on time so you stay up to date with what we're doing. We kind of view ourselves as kind of the new talk radio with a lot of the stuff, and you're not going to get more direct information about what's going on than what you're going to get from here, more insider stuff. And we're going to be taking a lot of your questions from out in the field in different states on how to get more involved and to answer questions about the things going on. So
yeah, even if you guys have questions like during the live feed, if you guys follow Twitter and you want to tweet your questions live, I'm sure these guys would be happy to answer them. So even more of a reason to follow the account. Make sure you're tuning in live there, because I'm sure, as I do, y'all have a bunch of questions or things that you want them to talk about a little bit more in depth.
And I think TBD, but I think we're going to start going live potentially with some of Charlie's channels, things like that, on things as we get closer to the election. So, which will be a lot of fun. So we'll be able to take a lot of the people's super chats and chats on there as well. So again, follow along, be ahead of the curve before it's cool to listen to political stuff. Most people start listening in July. Tell your friends, get your family in, because you're going to know a lot more about how to get involved, particularly in Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and so many of our other critical states by keeping it ahead here. Looking forward to this next week. We'll be talking Iowa caucus, what's coming out ahead before the Iowa caucuses on Monday, and so much that's happening, because this is the beginning. This is where kind of the bell rings, and we're going to have people in the ring here, so in the octagon. So again, looking forward to having everybody. God bless. Thank you for joining us today on Swing State Update.
We'll see you guys Monday.
Later.